Well, hello and welcome. I'm Sue Britz,
And I'm Tina Lookbach. Welcome to Retired.
the podcast where we talk about what life is like when we put on new tread, new wheels that move us to our next adventure.
So, Sue, you kind of have an interesting topic.
Oh, we do. We do.
Yes.
Isn't it on everyone's mind?
Well, maybe you should explain what it is.
Yeah. Listeners and Tina, I'm looking at you right now. It's like we have different different mindset, a different approach to managing the goings on of our country and the world. And it's been a challenge. And I think that it's a challenge that pretty much everybody is feeling too. What we can agree on, I think, is that we value this time together talking.
100%.
And hopefully that's the same for our listeners. So whether we talk about, something, silly or ridiculous, like, okay, I'm an introvert or an extrovert, that's not really silly or ridiculous. It's real life. But in the context of the world, it's hard for me to really engage with other topics.
Ooh, that's so completely honest. And listeners, I just want you to know that Sue and I kind of broached this subject a couple of weeks ago, and I had a shutdown. And so today, Sue, you showed up and you felt something heavy in your heart. And I said, let's not talk about it off recording. Let's put it on recording. So you're getting this fresh and live from us both about how we're dealing with the world. So, Sue.
Okay, let's do it. I don't think that we need to necessarily talk about the specifics of the news that's going on. Everyone friggin' knows the news, and hopefully they're getting it from good news sources. The thing is that I think we can talk about is the effect or how we're managing or not managing what's going on in the world, and by that we mean all the stuff that our government is doing, that the leaders, I should be more specific, of our government. I can't even say his name. I'll call him 34 because that's again how I manage and how I feel things. 34 felonies. Last time it was 45 because and doggy, and I think those are the things that I'm concerned about and the impact that's going on in the world to everyone's personal level, and then massively with what's going on with all the political and war peace and who are our friends and allies and who's not. So it's a giant red elephant in the room that needs to be talked about and how we manage it.
So this is where we're different people that are approaching things so differently. So, Sue, and I appreciate this, you're being so real in sharing that it's just too big to ignore and to not talk about. And that if I'm understanding, why talk about journaling, for instance, when there's something so much bigger and important to address than the small living. And for me, I feel that life is so large and so overwhelming that this is the thing that could do me under, as I'm trying to stay in this place of positivity when I feel like my inner world, not inner world, but my world that I'm trying to create is tanking. So, I'm interested to see where this goes.
Yeah, you were talking about like small living, and that's the irony of this thing, because it's not. We're talking about things that are important to us in growing as people, that I think that we believe we can share with so many of our friends and colleagues, and that people, that's not the small living. It's small because it's personal. I would call it more personal living. It's such a big existential threat And yet, looking at it objectively, I think, from our point of view now, it is because of so many things, not just the destruction of our democracy, but the impacts of climate change, the impacts of a very fragile peace with nuclear weapons behind it. All that stuff is so looming, so large and so real that it's hard to not acknowledge it. Um, for me, what I found interesting, and this is you and I are having this conversation. It's hard not to have it, but it's the same thing with family and friends. How when you see someone, what's the first thing you say? How are you doing? And then
Right.
what's the answer? And your situation,
Fine.
yes, and yet not.
Right.
Um, and how
Correct.
can anyone be fine? And everyone's got their own personal take and impact on what is happening to them and their families. And right now,
I
it
want to
is
point out something, if I can interject here.
sure
50% of the population, Sue, is elated.
that's changing though because
I think you're starting to be true. I think that's true.
yeah,
But I think that 50% voted for this, and and I know it is changing in some parts. That's where it's hard to read the accuracy. But again, I'm living in a place where most people are thrilled.
that's see and that's hard for me to understand or even to take in. It's interesting because when you say 50%, I push back on that because it's only 50% of voters. And yet, by
Ah,
extension,
wow.
those people kind of represent their families, and so they raise their children and so forth to believe a certain way. So it kind of is 50. But, as things keep going, uh, and this is what we've known from the beginning, is it's not going to be pretty, it's not going to be good, and it is destructive to the nth degree. So, how long can you be elated? Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, but the dealing with talking about things with friends and family, like, uh, my instant reaction is to push back, fight back, and resist and persist and be vocal and loud. And not everyone around me can do that or wants to do that or feels that way. And I have to
Oh,
respect that. And yet I feel so agitated because it feels like it shuts me down
right.
to
You have to honor yourself too.
right. And so there are ways that one can do that. Here's a podcast, but again, your take and your focus and your managing system is different than mine, and I need to respect that too. But we're having this conversation right now that I think that a lot of people are having to have. This how do we manage this within ourselves first of all, but within our family and friends and neighbors? How do we do this? And we've all got to do our own thing, but me making phone calls and talking to machines or someone who's just okay, on the other end and takes down your notice, that's not the same. I don't know. There's not enough conversation about it. Um, and yet, if we keep talking about the same thing over and over again, that also gets annoying.
Loses,
So,
right. Loses its effect,
well,
really.
and I'm keyed into the news and I'm reading everything and listening to all these. I'm listening to all the commentators and everything. That's how I need to, for me, I need to know. That helps me manage or think or feel about things and make
Or feel
decisions.
like you're in control of something,
Well, I don't know
right?
if I don't feel in control at all.
Right.
Yeah, I feel it all, an erosion under our feet as we stand. It's all just eroding underneath us. And, um, I feel a responsibility to be able to react responsibly. What is it that I want to do? And if we're talking about big existential questions like when do I put my literal life on the line and I'm willing to do that, you know?
Wow. I'm hearing this is really big on your heart. I have a question
Mhm.
just in a typical day. Like how much time do you get to talk about it? Because it sounds like there aren't many people to talk to. So I'm wondering how much you're intaking and never getting to express.
Well, no, I think it's funny because like there's nothing that's normal about this at all. There's no routine because this is an assault that just keeps escalating, day by day. So, you know, I, and I think a lot of us in this country are doing the same thing. We've talked about it. We talk about it. So then in some people, they, it's too much and they have to, they're understanding, they're realizing for maybe the first time that they have to stop. They have to limit their intake. They have to limit what they're saying and sharing. They need to refocus their thoughts and energies somewhere else in order to sustain themselves. Everyone's in a different place and a different point, and we're all just trying to figure it out. But I think the assault has been coming at such a
High rate,
yes, even
quick
more than
speed.
even more
Yeah,
than the
like
last
karate
time.
chopping ninja moves.
So
Yeah.
and we're just maybe now figuring out that we all need to figure out how we're going to figure this out, if that makes sense.
So here, listeners, is my general way of looking at it. And I think it's because of the place I'm at right now. I'm just trying to figure out how I'm going to make money and how I'm going to enjoy the rest of my life and have some sort of future retirement. So I'm in this place where, from this situation, I've learned that this whole Cuba tour thing has got to stop for so many reasons, at least for now. And I just shared with Sue in a text that I think I'm mourning this thing that I have wanted to do for so long. I just remember sitting at the picnic table at my old elementary school right before I was going to retire. And this was my dream, and it had been my dream that sustained me. And as I moved back home, I've gone in all these directions and finally made the commitment to go finish this car, get the website, do the things I needed to. And here I am a year later. Website is 80-90% done. The car is still not done. And then I have a new president who is going to make it even a step harder to create a business helping people out in Cuba. So, those of you listening, listeners, Sue sent me a New York Times article. And I think it really, and I'm glad you did, because it made me really wake up on another deeper level that I just have to stop this path, because there are 43 countries that are going to be banned from entering the United States. Those people will not be able to enter unless they are American citizens. So that's the first step. And of course, Cuba is in the reddest section and in the top like 5. So I know that that also is going to mean us leaving and going there is going to be prohibited as well. And I know that they're placed, for those of you that don't know about Cuba at this point, is desperate for gas. And in fact, Maria has been sitting in Havana without electricity, the entire country again, without electricity.
Yeah.
And it's because there's not enough gas to run the 5 major electric power pumps. And so there is no country willing to give Cuba money, which is why it went in with Russia years ago. And we had all of that. Well, Russia had a major influence in the 90s, in the early 90s. And then it now has shifted to Venezuela. And they, of course, they're on the list as well. But Venezuela has not been giving to Cuba as much either. So that meant Cuba is now going into Iran, Saudi, all of the people that we are uncomfortable with,
Right.
which puts them on the terrorist list, which then is backfiring again with
Yep.
Americans being able to interact.
Yeah.
So here we go. I've had to accept that. Do you think Americans are going to want to go to a place where there's no electricity, no internet, the people are really suffering, which is why I wanted to do this, right? To help people out, at
Right.
least the people that I know.
As things were improving. Yeah.
Yeah. And when I first started this whole idea, the ships were coming in with tourists and it was doing economically well. I saw thriving Cuba. I now see it shrinking.
Yeah.
And it's so painful that perhaps this isn't the thing to do.
It's not
And so,
sustainable.
anyway,
Yeah.
this president that we're talking about is not only impacting the day to day with so many other countries, and it's so overwhelming, it's also affecting what I was going to do.
Right. I
And
mean,
so
you're in
it's
a
so
very,
big
yeah.
that I just want to cry again.
Yeah.
So my way of dealing is to retreat and go into a bubble until I figure things out. And your ability right now is the need to express it. And I think that's healthy too. Your
Yeah.
turn.
Yeah, it when things affect us at such a personal and real level, we're talking about being able to make a living and so forth, not all, let alone dreams and so forth. Because you're if you're talking about you've just lost your job, I mean, it's equivalent of losing your job, and
Yeah,
there
thanks.
and there are many people across this country now who have lost their jobs, and that
Yes.
impact that it has, depending on where you are in your life, with your family, you're just starting out, you could lose your home, you could lose, you might
Healthcare.
health care, everything. I mean, we're talking taking you from living a regular middle class American life, if you will, if there's such a thing anymore, to to uh, you're on the streets. I mean, it, it's and this is not hyperbolic. This is real. This is what people are experiencing and going to continue to experience as we move here. And people are, our Congress has just said okay and empowered, and there's got to be some place where resistance happens and rationality comes back into play. And it would be it would be this is horrible to say, but it would be okay-ish if we were only hurting ourselves and our own nation, but we're hurting the entire world and the reality of the world continuing to survive or thrive. And if we're doing it to ourselves, that's bad on us, but our impact on the world is so insanely real and as deep as losing your job, as losing your home, as losing your friggin' life. I mean, that's a reality. And so how do you cope? This is about coping. How do we cope? And how do we do that? Each one of us is our own has our own take and our own struggles that are going on, inside. And then how do you interact even with your own family, or figure it out for
Mm.
yourself to begin with, and then interact with your family and your friends and your neighbors and, by extension, everyone else. I mean, they're severe. The hardships are severe and they're real. And so how do we manage that? And everyone's got to figure that out themselves. But my point in bringing it up maybe is this is a platform. This is a discussion where people need to figure that out and be respectful for themselves and for their family and for others. And yet at the same time, they've got to do what they've got to do, because this is that intense.
So I'm also looking at us, Sue. We're at different sides of this retirement,
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
So that we're going to approach things differently.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't say what I would be if I knew I had money coming in and I wasn't working. I don't have that privilege. So I have to look at my energy level. I mean, life is hard enough. I'm really learning, like, just being again very much on my own while Maria is gone. The car battery breaks. I have to go get a new one. My dishwasher, I know this is all first world problems, but dishwasher breaks. I got to find someone to install it and I got to go find one. My dryer has broken. Got to go fix it. And I'm putting on a timer so that I don't burn up my clothes. Um, the paint's starting to come off my garage. I'm the one that's going to fix it. I want to save $400 a month on gas. is what I've been spending in this house. So I'm having to use the firewood, which means I have to haul it in and stack it. And this is just that. And now I'm trying to have enough energy to create a business
Mm-hmm.
and to create a livelihood and think about how I'm going to do my next moves
Yep.
with now the possibility being gone. So what I'm saying is I'm trying to approach it as I've got finite energy.
Right.
What is most important? Well, it's back to the basics. It's getting wood into the fireplace so I'm not cold with all the snow around me. It's exercising, it's eating properly, it's trying to sleep, which I can't, it's hit and miss. So I'm just focusing on what are my basic needs, take care of those. Then hopefully with any energy left over, I can be creative enough to pursue something else.
Yep.
And in the meantime, my partner in crime, Maria, and she's gone. And she's doing her own struggling and trying to get this car done because whether we do these tours in the next 4 years or not, it's got to be done. So she's still there, and because electricity is going out, it's raining, all the things, the car's still not done. There's no possibility of it being done, I feel. And I've had to cancel. I'm so glad I did. April 29th, we had this huge catering gig for a community college for the Cuban food. Had to cancel it, and I'm so glad I did because I don't think she'll be back by then, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of responsibility.
Yeah. And all very intense, all very stressful, all very real. And it's everyday life and it's beyond your everyday life. It's your future. And this is what you and I are,
Yeah.
we're experiencing that. But we, the American people, we, the world, because that's what it is. Everyone's got to figure this one out. And you're right. I'm working from a place of privilege and understanding that also that could evaporate at any moment. So what are you going to do? Um, you don't know, and compare that to what you're going through. It's nothing, and compare that to friends in Ukraine who are
I know,
in the
right?
army on the literal front line. What are you going to do? And thinking about Europe and Canada and Mexico and everybody and Gaza and Israel and everything. Um it's all very stressful. And we all
And
go ahead.
well, and so I think what makes it's like part of me, Sue, gets really interested, and I go into NPR and BBC. That's it. That's what I give myself permission to find out what's going on in the world from. And I have to be in this place, Sue, where I am strong enough or resourced enough, because if I go in there and it's devastating news once again, it's like it wipes me out. I
Right.
have nothing left to give. It's so sad. And so that's where we're in a different place where if I don't have the energy to focus on what I need, then how am I going to get ahead? I want to know what's going on in the world. I'm totally curious because in a way, if you can stand out of it and pretend you're in this movie, it's hilarious. I mean, it's like this is an incredible story. Like somebody should write this, like not just as a history lesson, turn it into a feature film because this is so juicy. It's like the epitome of like shocking. It's like a soap opera on steroids. Like what is
Yeah.
happening
Yeah.
is just, it couldn't be better written. It's magnificent if you can look at it as if you were in a seated auditorium watching a really good film.
Well, and it doesn't seem real. It's too much. It's like any
It's
one
too
thing.
shocking.
Yeah, any one thing would have normally gotten the train off the tracks. And it's just so overwhelming. And that's the strategy that's being used. It's just, but the thing is, I think the ultimate strategy, I mean, based on actions, is tear it all down and let there be massive chaos and anarchy. And that's what's if you rile people up and take everything away, all you're going to get is revolution. I mean, it, yeah,
And so my way of coping is avoiding it when I can, or if I'm not strong enough, so I don't look at the news. And this is kind of where it ties into making a living. My job, Sue, I've realized as I become more and more sensitive as the years have rolled forward, after divorce, after estrangement, after it all, my sensitivity level, it's like I'm a burn victim with very thin skin.
Yeah.
So it takes very little to like feel the burn again,
Yeah.
right? So I've learned that I have to focus on being the positive. So I think that my job is to be in a place where I can be more positive for others, and maybe that's the way I can help the world in this
Yeah.
situation, is to not go dark, is to not be that person, but to give people pauses and reprieve from all of it,
Reprieve.
because
That's a
life
good
is
word.
hard enough.
Yep. Reprieve is a good
The
word.
daily living is hard enough.
Yep.
I think all of us feel that way. I don't think there's a podcast out there that's saying that we are all just such happy people. No, we're not. And this is another level that's taken it. Unless you're of the other 50% who's very delighted at everything that's happening. If you're on the other 50%, then it makes life that much harder.
Yeah. It just feels like evil
yeah.
and positivity are, yeah. You know, you talked about this is the, bringing the positivity. In mine, I want to screech out and yell, "Wake up, can't you see? Here's what we need to do, resist." Okay, and so they're opposites, and each one is really important to do. And
I believe so.
Yeah, and ultimately we need to take care of ourselves. And it's all this self-care stuff, but part of it is doing the thing like you said. You got to make a living. You got to solve practical problems. Focusing on the positive of things that you can do and how you can be there for each other, even if you're just saying, "Hey, this is a giant red elephant in the room we need to talk about," and how are you managing? So how are you? Well, that's a different question nowadays than what it was, just a couple of months ago. I think that part of that self-care, so when we come back to us and our podcast, we can talk about the little eagles up in the tree that are so cute, and they're being taken care of by their eagle parents. And if you don't know about this, folks, I'll put a link in there about watching the beautiful little birds up in the mountains near kind of near where Tina is, and talk about the other topics that we are going to discuss on our podcast. So what I wish for everyone is to share their managing strategies, try them on. Yeah, try them on, see if they fit, adapt and change as it goes. And yeah, I think that's what we have to do.
And I think each person, like you said, is so different. So if you need to voice it, voice it. If you need to write it, write it. If you need to hide, hide. If you need to spread positivity, spread positivity. But that is something I would love if people would, write into our email and let us know like what your coping strategies are. I'd love to have that shared.
Yep. Be kind, be strong, be well. Thanks for listening. Now let's pack up this week's episode in the trunk.
Ride shotgun and be a part of our adventure by clicking on the plus sign to subscribe and follow our show. This will help our ratings and, more importantly, inspire us to keep creating fun and engaging content. We would love to hear from you in the comments section or email us at retiredpodcastnewtread@gmail.com. Use the fast track lane by sharing episodes with friends, family, and anyone who would like to join us on our road trip through retirement.
Be sure to check the show notes for links and contact information. Retired is chauffeured by Sue Britz and Tina Lookbach. It is produced, directed, and edited by me, Sue Britz. Music and graphics are by me, too. Buckle up and tune in next week so that you won't miss your chance to join our retired road trip.